Manisha Priyam, Nirja Chaudhary, senior political analyst and senior journalist respectively. Prakash Javadekar of the BJP, TSR Subramaniam of the former cabinet secretary. We asked the Congress party to send a representative and this is what they said to us. They said the government has clarified on this. The Congress has nothing to say. In my view, it does reflect something that in the last few weeks of this government, the Congress party has washed its hands off the UPA government, Nirja. They are not even willing to send a representative to talk about the appointment scam. What do you think?
I think, it raises a lot of disquieting questions, this whole episode. Why is Mr. Vasudeva so important to Mr. Moily, number one? Why should Mr. Moily persist that he be appointed despite the CVC not having given its clearance, despite the PESB having recommended somebody else's name? That too on the eve of elections, when there was bound to be greater scrutiny of any controversy like this. I mean, I find it shows an attitude, and then we know ONGC is a cash cow.
Yeah, of course.
Elections are about to take place.
Yeah.
Opposition has been demanding, baying for Mr. Moily's blood.
Yeah.
So, I mean, has the government become so blasé, so much of an we couldn't care less attitude? Are the stakes so high? I mean, these are questions to which answers must come.
Yeah, but
you cannot violate rules of the kind we've been seeing in appointments. Establish procedures like this and hope to get away.
Now, I have a letter here which is written to the Prime Minister. So, Prakash Javadekar, my question to you is, I don't know if you've seen this letter. I was talking about it this afternoon. There is a letter written to the Prime Minister on 4th November 2013. And this letter is of Moily, where Moily makes this case for giving this man 1 year's extension. And obviously, the Prime Minister will know. Does the Prime Minister not know that there are 6 vigilance cases against this man? So, the question to you, Prakash Javadekar, is what about the Prime Minister of India, Manmohan Singh? Could an attempt have been made to make a person facing 6 vigilance inquiries the big boss of ONGC without the Prime Minister's tacit or indirect support? Would Moily have gone this far?
No, absolutely not. And in the first place, I must congratulate you for your role as a real watchdog, because in exact time you got it, and immediately in 2 hours, that was an impact. That impact must be recognized. Second important point is that the government has decided to brazen out all norms of governance.
No, right
and
now.
Therefore, you have got just this one case.
Yeah.
I will tell you, the whole appointment of CVC became controversial and had to be nullified by the Supreme Court, because there were cases against him. Still he was appointed CVC despite Sushma Swaraj opposition directly saying what are the objections. So this is how the government is trying and pushing. If you collect last 1 month's appointments on public sector bank director board, on various other public sector units which were remained vacant for nearly more than 15 months, all are filled now. Because it is a mad rush for appointments.
No, but this is a huge scam. Why is the BJP not taking it up? If you are aware of what is happening. If you are aware of what is happening.
This government is,
if you are aware of what is happening, why aren't you taking it up more aggressively?
Let us understand that as it is election time and there are so many issues, so many stories coming out. The issue is this government is of the scam, for the scam and by the scam.
No, whatever. But that's again. With respect, Mr. Javadekar, you see, this I have with me, and I really want to show this paper out here before I come to Manisha, before I come to TSR Subramaniam. Mr. Subramaniam, you've been in government, you've seen these papers. Now, on the 12th of February, the Central Vigilance Commission tells the government that there are 6 pending cases against Vasudeva, right? Take them to their logical conclusion and thereafter approach the commission for clearance with the updated vigilance profile, right? Within that, Immediately after that, this whole, I have also got the sequence of events, the discussion which happens within the government, right? The petroleum secretary, who is also due for retirement, he writes in his note that you cannot get vigilance clearance for Vasudeva in the next few days. Here, gentlemen, just see this note. I hope I can hold it clearly. This real government really needs to be exposed. It says, you cannot obtain vigilance clearance for Vasudeva in the next few days. The only alternative is to grant extension to Vasudeva pending vigilance clearance, if the appointment committee of cabinet deems it fit to do so. And then the minister also signs off on it. So the point here is, Mr. Subramaniam, there was a great nervousness going on within the government over the last few days. But they did not. They continued to back Vasudeva, which means if this story had not come out in the press, in the media and on Times Now this afternoon, they would have somehow, made this guy the ONGC chairman for one more year and let the next government or whoever deal with it. Do you?
Arnab, I think I agree entirely with the BJP spokesman that Times Now has done a tremendous job. But then let us look at the larger picture. We are now seeing the consistent pattern that the government of India, which usually had fairly good standards in appointments and postings, has now descended to the level of the lowest states. So in many states where the drop of a hat, favorites are played, etc., this is a terrible case. Because firstly, when the age of retirement was increased to 60, a clear decision was taken, amending the rules, that nobody shall be given extension beyond 60. Exactly. Earlier, extension could have been given up to 60 when the age was 58. Then extensions were made only for the cabinet secretary, home secretary and defense secretary. So number one, I think this goes against the rules. It's unheard of in the last 65 years, even probably in the state government. Anybody with a pending vigilance inquiry is given an extension.
No, but that also, but why, Mr. Subramaniam, I have to take a short break. But the real question comes up here. We have a prime minister who doesn't speak, who presents himself as a picture of helplessness, and who is going now out of his office in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whenever after that the government enters the lame duck phase. When I come back, I'm going to ask Manisha and then Nirja and the others also, does Manmohan Singh not care about his own image anymore? Is he allowing this or is he under pressure? We'll talk about that when we come back. It would have in some circumstances, some would have said, Manisha, it should be flattering that the government does a backtrack after Times Now puts on a story in 2 hours, and it should be flattering for us as journalists that we got the government to respond. But for me personally, Manisha, it is of great concern that in addition to the 6 pending cases against Vasudeva, the Central Vigilance Commission also brought to the notice of the government a PIL filed before the Delhi High Court, seeking a CBI investigation into allegations of bribery in relation to buying British gas stakes of KG Basin. So there are 6 pending cases and an accusation of PIL on the issue of bribery, and the government, the Prime Minister, the Petroleum Minister still wanted to extend this man's tenure. This is beyond brazenness, Manisha. It's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Yes, this is absolutely beyond brazenness. I just like to say 2 points here, that the appointments committee acting or a group of ministers acting, all of them act on the delegated powers of the Prime Minister. None of them actually substitute either the primus inter pares status of the Prime Minister or the issue of collective responsibility. So in all cases of misdeed, it is indeed the Prime Minister leading collectively the cabinet that becomes responsible, number one. The second big point is that the ONGC is not an ordinary PSU we are talking about. We are talking about a Fortune 500 listed company. We are talking of this country's most important geostrategic navigator in terms of a national asset. Do we realize that by its misdeeds, what the Congress has been doing with the ONGC, it's the decline of the Nehruvian era. For God's sake, the ONGC was a solid institutional demonstrator of the temper of scientific research. Its origins lay in the Department
No, who
for
cares?
Scientific Research in the Geological Survey of India.
Do
And
you
in
think this
today's day
government
and age,
cares about it?
when China is
Do you
right
think this
there,
government even looks at it that way, Nirja? Do you think the
It's
government even
bartering.
looks at it that way? I mean, I don't think they care about the historical perspective. The Central Vigilance Commission's findings were known to the Petroleum Ministry on February 10th. In fact, I think, Nirja, the other person who should really tell us what he's up to nowadays is this gentleman, Mr. Narayan Swamy, who has been accused of all kinds of things while in the Department of Personnel and Training. The DOPT headed by the PMO took all this time to act. Narayan Swamy, PMO, they are all aware of this going on, isn't it, Nirja? It can't just be Moily. Different parts have to come together to carry out a scam like this.
That's true, because November last year the letter goes,
Yes.
February 10th, as you say, the CBC writes to the oil ministry saying that there are these complaints, what has been done, recommendation has not taken place of Mr. Vasudeva. Still, oil ministry refers two names. Mr. Saraf's name has been cleared by the CBC, and yet it still persists with referring Mr. Vasudeva's name to the AICC, which is headed by the Prime Minister. So, you know, the other thing I feel is I'm very glad this is coming out at this stage, because it is also a message to the government that's going to come in May 2014, not to mess around with these things, because there is a very vigilant public opinion, vigilant media that they will have to contend with. Of course, and it raises questions about the role and relevance of the CBC. If you are not going to listen to them at all, this happened in the case of the additional director's appointment to the CBI, where the CBC's recommendation was completely ignored.
You are right.
So, I mean, what kind of governance are we into?
Well, you are right. And it also explains why almost preemptively today every political party has a problem with the media. You know, because these kind of things, had they not come out in the media, the government would have moved on. Now, my question, I have two quick questions for Mr. Javadekar and TSR Subramaniam. I'll close with him. Mr. Javadekar, you have a CBI additional director who was appointed without the CVC's recommendation. I'm sorry, but I did not see the BJP go to town about that. And as far as issues regarding Petroleum Ministry are concerned, oh, no, 1 second, sir, you are not exactly fire and brimstone in questioning many things happening in the Petroleum Ministry. Why are you so soft on Moily? Something happening there?
No, we are not at all.
No, you are a little soft on the Petroleum Ministry issues. Is there some pressure on you?
No.
Some kind of pressure?
No.
Is there any corporate pressure on you?
Which is not right. No, absolutely not. The issue is very clear. This government, and let me tell you again, the Prime Minister, even in 2G, even in coal scam, where he was the coal minister, has proved again and again that he comes out with the recommendation from whatever the bosses, his bosses, and reads out in the meeting. Even Lokpal Appointment Committee, Sushma ji said very clearly that they were not ready to listen to anything, but they bring out the chitti, which was the final decision. If this is the way, if it is being remote controlled from somewhere else, and that is and he has accepted that.
Sir,
and therefore, this government has come under cloud.
No, but you haven't answered my question to the growing perception that the BJP is a little soft on Petroleum Ministry issues. You should be careful, sir. No, you should be careful, because the media is going to ask you questions. Nirja is right.
Yeah.
We'll ask you questions too. Quickly, TSR Subramaniam, and closing with Manisha. Same question here. The CVC also points out there is no recommendation of the Public Enterprise Selection Board. That also is bypassed.
Yeah.
So it's not just at one step, Mr. Subramaniam.
Also there is the PESB has recommended one clear person. Only if a new person is not recommended, you think of extension, number one. Number two, sadly, these large public sector undertakings and the ministers concerned, there's a strong nexus these days, which is the bane of the problem, number two.
Oh, yes.
Number three, read what the CVC said very carefully. He has opposed it.
Yeah.
He says, only if and when the cases are closed, please come to me for approval,
no,
which means I am not approving,
yeah.
which means the government has gone against CVC's advice.
Yeah.
And lastly, it is, it is terrible to understand A man having 6 inquiries normally should be suspended.
Well, I mean,
Instead, you want him for an extension.
even if you don't say that, even if you don't suspend, but to just to extend. Well, Manisha, what would be going through the Prime Minister's mind right now? Is he doing this under pressure, or do you think the Prime Minister's just gone into limbo mode? Do you think he's lost control of the government completely? I mean, what could explain this kind of situation?
I mean, that we've been, losing control of the government is one thing, but bleeding the public exchequer or doing things which are, close to that kind of an outcome, that's a specific charge that is being levied time and again at the doorstep of the PMO. So where does this leave the office of the Prime Minister? My concern here really is that a lot of the actions of this government will end at the doorsteps of the court and of vigilance and inquiry of the highest order.
I'm sure they will.
And therefore, decline of the office of the Prime Minister is what I'm worried about.
Well, I'm sure they will, and I think they should. I thank you very much, gentlemen. The UP appointment scam, by the way, is ladies and gentlemen, only something we are beginning to unravel. We have a lot more papers, and I think we will be able to put out a lot more in the coming few days. Thanks very much for joining me. Thank you.